So what I've been, as you know, been working on in classes this year is working through the sequences that are in the back of the book in Light on Yoga. And we're on week 9 and week 10. So we would have spent 2 weeks doing this particular sequence, but we'll just spend in this class this 1 week doing it. What's new in this sequence is it actually adds quite a bit to what we've been doing. The first big thing that it adds is Parjvakanasana, everyone's favorite big standing pose twist. And obviously not appropriate for people who are pregnant, but do Parjvakanasana instead. And also, though, even more importantly, as I've been working with the sequences in class the past couple weeks, maybe not more importantly, but it also adds Parigasana, which is a pose where you're kneeling on one shin and have the other leg out to the side. And what's interesting about that pose is that you are literally kneeling on your shins instead of on your feet. And it's actually very revealing about certain postural tendencies that we have. So part of the reason I'm having us start in Vajrasana today, sitting, is so we'll start off with that feeling of getting weight going into the shins. The other thing that it adds are a couple of things. Well, it adds Prasar Parivartanasana too, with the no hands version. And then in the shoulder stand part of class, it adds Karnapidasana, and it also adds Ekapada Sarvangasana. Okay, so there's quite a bit there. The sequences are starting to get pretty long, or longer than it's easy to do in a 75-minute class. And so I may not do every single pose that's listed in the back of the book, but if you want to get the book and have it by you so you know what the sequence is, you're welcome to do that. So anyway, so one of the things that happens when we are standing on our shins, and if you just want to stand up on your shins for a second and feel that, what tends to happen, at least for me, and I think for most people, is that the weight tends to go more toward the knees and not all the way on the shins. So when I'm just standing, and it's like when we first start off in Tadasana, our weight tends to go more into the ball of the foot rather than the heels. Okay? So just observe that. But then when you sit back down, we want to try and get the weight to go more back into the feet and get more of the whole shin on the ground. And that's easier to accomplish actually with the legs together for most people. So to start that, take your hand underneath your knee, okay, and lift the knee flesh up and pull it forward. Okay? So you get a little bit length in the front of the top of the shin, and do that with your other leg. Then reach back behind you and lift your toes up and get as much of your foot with your hand as you can, not just your toes, but actually see if you can get your fingers onto your foot and pull the foot back so that the shin gets longer. Okay? And then do the same thing on the other side. Again, try not pulling just on the toes, but if you can actually get your fingers onto the top of the foot itself, then pull all the way back. Okay? And so now hopefully your whole shin is more in contact with the floor. And that's just placing the shin, but there's really a very strong action of extending back through all 10 toes. Okay? And the more you can extend back through all 10 toes, that's actually what's going to help keep this shin where you're really standing, or in this case, sitting on the shin. Okay? All right, then suck your outer ankles in, your outer calves in, and your outer hips in. Push down on your top thighs and release the groin, and you'll also feel a lift come into the chest. Lengthen up through your side ribs and roll your shoulder bones back. Bring your shoulder blades in, away from the neck, and into the center of the body and up a little bit so you really feel your chest get nice and lifted and broad. If you need a little bit more height between your buttocks and your heels, you're welcome to take it. And then close your eyes and fold your palms together at your heart. One nice thing about sitting in Vajrasana or Virasana is that it's the verticality of the seated position is often a lot easier to feel. Partly you are a little bit literally taller in space because you're sitting on your feet rather than on the floor. But go ahead and inhale up take advantage of that verticality and inhale up from the tailbone all the way up through the head. Keep that height, and as you exhale, move the prana, the energy of the breath, outward towards your side ribs and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Okay. Keep that height. Exhale, make yourself broad. Inhale, extend yourself. Exhale, expand yourself. Use the breath to create that sense of inner spaciousness. And then having done that, focus on the exhalation. Follow the exhalation with your mind for a couple of cycles of breath, letting the exhalation guide the awareness from the outer world to the inner world, an inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Consistently cultivate that practice of using your exhalations to bring the awareness more deeply in. And then from that space within, let's chant 3 Oms together. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And from that space, inhale once more. Keeping your chest well lifted and broad. Bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. And then raise your head and open your eyes. Sorry about the chest congestion there. All right. And then go ahead and come forward onto your hands and your knees. Spread your palms well. Move your knees about hip width apart. Turn your toes under. And then stretch back into Adho Mukha Shavasana, just opening the backs of the knees since they've been folded for a little while. And come up onto the balls of the feet. Feel your quadriceps and your inner thighs lift. Push your hands down and forward. Roll over the balls of the feet and reach back through your heels. Feel that nice opening in the side ribs. Beginning of weight coming back into the legs, which will just increase over the course of the class. And then go ahead and sit back down again in Vajrasana. Gain the support you need. All right, so the first new pose that we do in this sequence is Parjvakanasana, which is a twist. Oh, the other thing that this sequence adds is Chatara Parivartanasana at the end after doing the after doing a shoulder stand. Okay, so we'll start with that twisting awareness here in Vajrasana. So put one hand out back on the block behind you and lift up with your arm and get lots of length in the sides of the torso. And actually move your block over to the side a little bit and lean over. So you're getting lots of length in the side of the body. That's one of the other things that really happens in the Parigasana and the Parivritta-Trikonasana. Now keep that length that you got from leaning over and just swing yourself around and twist in Vajrasana. Keep your leg action strong. Inhale up from the tailbone through the head. And then as you exhale, turn and rotate. And rotate from the perspective of the front body, your pelvis is turning from your right pelvic bone to the left, your right ribs to the left, and you broaden your collarbones. Inhale up again, and now think of the twist from the perspective of the back body. Okay, your lower back is going from left to right, your rib cage is going from left to right, and you draw your shoulder blades in a little bit to help keep that collarbone nice and broad. And actually dig your shoulder blades in a little bit more as you exhale one more time. All right, then when you come back to the center, try not to lose the length. So push down with your fingers, lift up through the sides of the torso, come back to the center, shift your brick if you need to. Okay, first stretch up. Now you do get a lot of length just by lengthening up straight. Okay? But when you add this little turn over to the side or this lengthening over to the side, like Parjvakanasana or like Parigasana, you actually get even more length in that side of the torso. Now keep that extra length in the sides of the torso as you move yourself back up and come into Vajrasana. Check back in and make sure you're still extending through all 10 toes, sucking the outer ankles in, and inhale up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. And you're rotating from left to right on the front body, but from right to left on the back body. So both the front body and the back body participate in the twist. One more time, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. And when you come back to the center, push down with both hands, lengthen up and come all the way back to the center. And then do another downward facing dog and let your knees have a little bit of a break. Spread your palms. Turn your biceps toward the front of the room. Turn your toes under. And then push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Press your hands down and forward. Pull the weight back with your thighs. Come up onto the balls of the feet. So your quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, and hamstrings all lift. And then roll over the balls of the feet and reach your heels way back toward the floor. All right, then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Okay, so the first pose in the actual sequence, so we've planted a few seeds, is Trikonasana, but we're going to do it in such a way that it anticipates Parigasana. So walk your feet out wide. Spread your toes well. Press down into the heels, lift up your quadriceps, your inner thighs, your outer thighs, and engage your hamstrings and your buttocks as well. You can keep your hands on your hips for just a second. Pull the elbows back and you'll feel your collarbones broaden and the shoulder bones move in. Okay, now pick up your back left toes and turn them in. Pick up your right heel and spin it all the way around. And then turn your torso back toward the screen. And stretch your arms out. Turn your palms up, because that's what you're going to do when you get to Parigasana. And then we're going to tip over, bringing your hand down to the leg. But then you're going to add Parigasana action. First, just extending so the side of the torso is kind of parallel with the floor. Keep turning your torso away from the leg. Press into your back heel and extend through the fingers. And then if you can, and if it's appropriate for you, see if you can close the gap, either like to make Trikonasana into a standing Parigasana. Right, and then release and come all the way up. Turn your feet back to the center and come back into Tadasana. And lift your quadriceps, your inner thighs, your outer thighs, and draw the hamstrings and the buttocks up toward each other so you feel a nice firm connection there. All right, then step or jump your feet out wide again. Spread your toes. Move the buttocks down toward the heels. Lift the quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, and engage the hamstrings and the buttocks. Then turn your legs. Turn your torso away from the external rotation of the front leg. Turn your palms up. Still turn your shoulder, move your shoulder blades in, and then come over first just into a Trikonasana with your palm up. Next stage, press into your back heel and reach your arm in line with your ear like you're doing Parjvakanasana. Really push the heel, really extend through the ring fingers, and then turn your torso toward the screen as you go deeper into this version of Trikonasana, which anticipates Parigasana, where you're reaching downward toward the floor. And then come all the way back up, turn your feet back to the center, and step or jump your feet out. Okay. All right, so the next few poses we're going to do are doing what I like to call the stealth entry into the standing poses. But it's also going to prepare us for better Parigasana. All right, so I have a little blanket for my shins. And when I use this blanket for my shins, I personally like to have my feet, I'll show it from this way. I like to have my feet off of the blanket so that they can grip on the sticky mat. Okay. Also, I have a little bit, a lot of people do, but I myself, my front ankles are pretty tight. Okay. And so when I stretch them back into Vajrasana, it's hard to get that front of the ankle to really press downward into the floor. Okay. So I can fill up that space a little bit with my folded blanket. And then that makes it easier for the whole shin to get on the floor. Yeah. And as you're standing here, also just observe, the weight tends to come onto the knees. Okay. So stretch back through all 10 toes, move your hamstrings and your buttocks toward each other so you feel the front body open a little bit more. All right, then bring the right leg out to the side. One nice thing about why I call these the stealth entry into some of the standing poses is when you come into it from this Parigasana approach, it's really easy to get the top leg into a 90-degree angle. And so then all you have to do is maintain the ground that you got by lowering yourself down into the ground when you go into the standing poses. All right, so stretch your arms out. Palms are up. I'm going to bring my hand down to my foot with my palm up. If I can, I'm going to put my hand on my hip for now. Actually, I'm going to hold on to my foot to get up. All right, and then roll open the torso. Then stay as low as you can on your front leg. Let's see, can you sneak yourself up into Parjvakanasana? Now, I today had to give myself a little bit of a boost with the hand on the floor. Yeah. Press into your back leg, push your arm and your knee against each other and turn and rotate yourself around. And then add your top arm. And so Parjvakanasana goes even lower than to Parigasana. We won't go any lower, but just get that nice length in the sides of the torso. Turn your torso toward the screen. Now stay low in your leg as you come into Vajrasana 2. Straighten your leg, turn the palms up again, and tip over one more time into a Parigasana Trikonasana. First, extend where the sides of the torso are more or less parallel with the floor. And then if you want to go a little bit lower, you can. Keep pressing into your back heel and lengthening through the ring finger. Come all the way back up. Turn your feet back to the center. Walk your feet in. Okay. All right, and then kneel down again. Over these 2 weeks of working with Parigasana, I can actually feel that I'm getting better at not shifting the weight forward into my knees, but I still have to really work on it each time that I move the shins back. All right, then do your opposite side. So you've got the leg in the 90-degree angle pretty readily. Use your hand to get even more external rotation. Stretch your arms out, turn the palms up, and you can tip over and put the palm up on the foot, but I need a little bit of support, so I'm going to turn the palm back. Put your hand on your hip. And if you need to hold on to something like the floor or your leg to get up, you can, but try and stay as low as you can. Extend into your back heel, turn the palm up, and then extend your arm out for Parjvakanasana. There you go. Then come up into Vajrasana 2. Straighten the leg, turn the palms up, and then tip over into Parigasana Trikonasana. Really press into that back heel and extend through that ring finger and feel that nice extension through the whole side of the body. Looks good, everyone. And come all the way back up. Turn your feet back to the center. And then come and stand into Tadasana again. Okay. Then what happens next are the 3 warrior poses. We've already done past through warrior 2. But you can also do that same stealth approach for warrior 1. You're going to bring your leg in front of you. We're going to do that same stealth approach for Parjvakanasana here too. But as you're standing on this back shin and you've got the leg in the 90-degree angle, join your palms together at your heart and reach your arms all the way up into a kneeling Vajrasana 1. Now suck your outer hips in, reach up with your arms. If you can come up without using your hands on your legs, do so. But if you need the support of your arms to come up, use it. So then you come into standing Vajrasana 1. Reach up even more, sit even lower. Reach your arms out to the side and turn and rotate and do a Vajrasana 2. And then straighten your leg and come up and then join your feet. All right, second side. So kneel down on your other shin. And move and extend the foot back, the weight back onto the big toe, onto the all 5 toes. Yeah, one thing that's pretty nice about the stealth entry also is it's much easier to get the torso to go straight toward the front leg. When your back leg is straight, we encounter that tightness in the groin that tends to want to pull the torso with the back leg. Whereas here, the torso is happier, easier here, just being straight ahead like it should be in Vajrasana. All right, join your palms together. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones as you reach your arms all the way up into Namaste. Turn your toes under, and then stretch into your Vajrasana 1. Stretch into your back heel, turn that torso toward the front leg, reach up through your ring finger, and stretch your arms out. Turn into Vajrasana 2, straighten your leg, and then jump forward into Shavasana. All right. So Vajrasana 3, we're just gonna touch up for a second. But before we do that, we're gonna actually do an Ekapada Adamudra Shavasana. Okay. So put your hands down on the floor and walk your feet back to downward facing dog.
Doing the long way.
Now let's observe this downward facing dog after having done a bit of the standing pose work. So I'm feeling that the standing pose work has brought my weight a little bit more back into my leg without me even trying. Also, that side lengthening, stretching work has a nice payoff here and feeling a nice opening in the sides of the armpit. Now keep pushing your hands down and forward as you come up onto the balls of the feet and roll back over the balls of the feet and pull back even more with your leg. All right, then join your feet together. Now think about this as a preparation for Vajrasana 3. So the leg's going to be a little bit higher than it would be for Vajrasana 3 because your torso is at this angle. But otherwise, make your leg that's in the air super straight and strong and use it to pull the weight more and more back into your legs. Then come back to the center. You may need to adjust because you may have gotten longer. And then let that other leg just be an extension of the spine. Press your hands down and forward, pull the weight back with your leg. And come back to the center. Then walk forward with your feet. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. All right, go ahead and get 2 bricks. And we're just going to do a kind of a Vajrasana 3 from an Uttanasana. I've got my bricks on the floor. My legs are together. Next week adds in the Uttanasana, Partagasala, and Harishnasana. So here we are. Actually, I'm going to say make your bricks be taller. Because when your bricks are taller, you're going to be closer to the Vajrasana 3 with your chest. And then just draw a straight line back with your right leg. So it's really exactly like Ekapada Adamudra. The leg is just in line with the spine. And you're extending back to your right leg. Now see, can you lift your left arm off of the brick? So you're reaching forward with your left arm, but extending back through your right leg. And then come back to the Uttanasana. Stretch your leg back straight. The leg lengthens, but then you're going to add your opposite arm. So the arm is lengthening, the leg is lengthening, and really get the leg as straight as you can. All right, and then come back to the center. Place your hands on your hips. Roll your shoulders back and come all the way up. All right. So the sequence actually has Parjvakanasana next, then Parjvakanasana. But I'm going to actually, for now, skip and go to Parjvakanasana. And then when we come out of Parjvakanasana, we're going to do Parjvakanasana, and it's going to feel really awesome. So that's the point. All right, we're going to work with the same stealth idea here. You can have a brick on either side. Bring your leg up. So I can feel that my weight went into my shin, so I'm going to move it back into my foot. All right, place your hands on your hips. And you have to do that same Vajrasana turn here. Okay, so the torso is turning in the same way and you're still upright. Okay, so from the perspective of the front body, you're turning from left to right. From the perspective of the back body, you're turning from right to left. Turn as much as you can, pushing with your hand against your leg. All right, now what you want to do, ideally, eventually, is you want to get the back shoulder blade on the outside of the knee. Right. Before you try and close the gap, stretch your arms out and see if you can turn a little bit more with your arms stretched out. All right, and then person, this is probably about all you're going to do, and you can go into Parjvakanasana. All right, then you're going to slide your arm down your outer leg as much as you can. Now, hard pose for me. So I get where I get on the first movement, and then I'm going to give it 2 more breaths. Suck your outer hips in, lengthen from the tailbone through the head. You can use your hand to move the abdomen out of the way. And then can you get a little higher up on your arm? Then do another breath. Push down with your thigh with your hand. And can you get a little bit higher on your arm? And then maybe you can do it one more time if you want. Put your hand on the brick or just keep it in the air element. Turn and rotate by pushing your arm against your knee. And then stretch your leg back behind you. Turn and rotate a little bit more. And then add your top arm. Swing all the way out of the pose. Come into Vajrasana 2 again. Straighten the leg. Trikonasana. Parigasana, Trikonasana. Really getting that back leg straight. Then come all the way up. All right. Good job, everyone. Second side. Go down again. Bring the leg up. Okay, at this point, the torso is really basically doing what it was doing in Vajrasana, that second pose we did in class today. All right, so turn from the perspective of the front body. You've got the turn from right to left, pelvis, rib cage, collarbone, broad. From the perspective of the back body, you've got left to right, across the sacrum, across the rib cage, and then as you exhale, draw your shoulder blades in a little bit more. Push with your hand against the leg to turn. Then lengthen up and stretch your arms out. See if you can use this extra action of the arms to get more turn. All right, then you can reach this arm up. It also helps. I forgot to do it on that side. You can even lean over a little bit. And then bring your arm down to the outside of the leg. All right, so on this side, on the first side, I get to my above my elbow. I only got below my elbow here. Tuck your outer hips in. Inhale, lengthen from the tailbone through the head. See if you can get a little bit lower on the arm, or higher on the arm, really. Push the arm against the knee and turn and rotate. Then inhale, lengthen from the tailbone through the head. Get a little bit higher on the arm if you can. Even if nothing happens, make 3 attempts. Okay, so now at least I'm above my arm. All right, now push your arm against your leg and turn and rotate. Then stay as low as you can and stretch the leg up. Extend through that heel, turn and rotate your torso. Then add your top arm, extend through the heel, swing around, come into Vajrasana 2. Straighten your leg, turn your palms over. Parigasana, Trikonasana, feeling that nice extension through the side ribs. And then come all the way up. All right, so that's the stealth entry. There's some other nice ways of doing the pose. You can turn toward the wall. Yeah. We've got this pose with us for a long time, so we'll work on that maybe next week. But I've got my back heel at the wall here. So that's gonna help me keep my back leg straight. Okay, so you're gonna take a big step forward with your right leg and have your back heel against the wall. And remember what I was saying about when the back leg's straight, it's harder to bring the torso around. But keep the back leg as straight as you can. As you bend your knee to form the square, turn with the torso as much as you can, stay low. Reach your arm up, stretch through your back leg, and then swing your arm down to the outside of the leg. See where you get. And then stretch into the back leg. 2 more cycles of breath. Inhale, extend, hook lower. Inhale, extend, hook lower still, or higher really. Turn and rotate by pushing your arm against your leg. Straighten your back leg. Add the top arm. And then come all the way up and out. All right, second side. Back right leg against the wall. Front left leg out like you're doing Vajrasana 1. Keep the priority as much as you can on the back leg being straight. Keep the back leg straight as you turn your torso toward your front leg. Keep the back leg straight as you bend the knee. Turn the torso toward the front leg. Now keep the back leg straight as you reach your arm all the way up toward the ceiling. Inhale, reach out like you're going to do in Vajrasana 3, but you're going to hook your arm over the outside of the knee. Get where you get, sit low. Give it 2 more tries. Inhale, lengthen and turn, get lower. Inhale, lengthen and turn and get lower. Turn, press your heel into your wall and stretch your arm out. And then come all the way up. Nice, Sterling. Good. All right, that was good, everyone. That's it for today. On Parjvakanasana. It's a pose I was saying in my class on Friday. It's a pose I like having done. I don't necessarily like doing it. It's a really tough pose, but I do really feel there's a really nice energy that flows in the body after you've done that pose, which maybe you're feeling now as you're standing here in Shavasana. All right, then I said we'd do a Parjvakanasana. So after that Parjvakanasana, when you stretch your arms and turn, it actually just feels very fluid to come into Parjvakanasana. Like no big deal after Parjvakanasana. And then swing yourself all the way back up, turn around, second side, swing yourself over. It's like nothing. I don't know what she's doing. And come all the way back up and walk your feet back into the center. Another thing I've been noticing adding the Parjvakanasana in is when I go and do a Parjvakanasana, arms for Parjvakanasana behind the back, that twisting of the Parjvakanasana loosens up the thicker part in my back, and it actually makes it more receptive, let's say, to the work of the arms behind the back. Okay, so bring your arms into Namaste Asana, or whatever you can do that's in the ballpark. Extend from your elbows through your wrist bones. Walk your feet out wide or jump. Turn your legs toward the right. Now you've got that hand against the back to help turn your torso toward the front leg. Look up and do that standing back arch action here, opening that front body, which also feels really good after Parjvakanasana. Legs strong, torso long, fold forward, and let your head come down toward your leg. You can play with lifting the chin, extending through the head, all of those things. But another thing I notice after Parjvakanasana is I can fold forward a bit more readily in this pose. And I can actually feel also there's a little excavation of the abdomen that's come. And then go ahead and come all the way back up. If you need to let go of your hands like I did, you can. Actually, everyone go ahead and come back to the center and let go of your arms, and then we'll put the opposite arm in first. Okay, so I habitually put my right arm in first. So I'm gonna really try and get that left arm in first this time. It doesn't like to do it. And then I use that left hand to help get the right arm in place. And lift quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, hamstrings, and buttocks. And extend from the elbows through the wrist bone, even if they don't touch. Good. The chest looks good on everyone. All right, then walk forward. Sorry, walk out. Engage your quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, and hamstrings. Turn to your left leg. Use your forearm against the back of the leg, back of the torso to help yourself turn forward more. And then look up toward the ceiling, feeling that opening in the front body. And then legs strong, sides of the torso long, fold forward, and bring yourself down toward the front leg. You can work with the chin leading. That gives you one effect of the spine. Let your head hang, gives you a little bit more lengthening. And you can go back and forth with those head positions, letting your chin come closer to your shin. Then come up, turn, release your hands, and come back into the asana.
That's fine. But
all right.
Better is to hold your elbows.
Okay, so the next new thing in this sequence is adding the hands-free version of Prasar to Harishnasana. And there are two versions of that. One of them, you keep your hands on your hips. Kirsten is going to do the hands down on the floor version, or put your hands on the chair. So walk your feet out wide. Place your hands on your hips. Quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, and hamstrings all lifting up. And move your buttocks toward your heels. Pull your elbows back behind you and you'll feel your shoulder blades move in, but you'll also feel your collarbone get broad. Right, then do a big standing back arch here. You're really compressing and twisting that front abdomen and Parjvakanasana. So really feel that nice extension here. Legs strong, sides of the torso long, fold forward, and can you get your head to the floor? And if you can't, you just grab a brick, raise the floor up, and put the back of the head on the brick. Okay, so this is the first stage of Prasar Parivartanasana 2. And then we just come all the way up, wiggle your feet in a little bit if you need to, and do a nice standing back arch, and then come back to the center. Okay. This sequence, and then we can walk your feet in. This sequence still has the, abdominal work in it. Okay. So we're going to do it with our hands behind our back first, and then we'll move on to the abdominal point I wanted to make. All right, so hands behind your back in Namaste, or whatever you do instead. You could keep your hands on your hips. Walk your feet out wide. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones. Lift your quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, and hamstrings, and move the buttocks toward the heels as you arch yourself back. Look up toward the ceiling. Lift your fingers up into your chest, and you can arch back a little bit more. Legs strong, sides of the torso long. Fold forward and see if you can get your head down to the floor or down to a brick. Maybe you can wiggle your hands a little bit higher up your back as well. And then come all the way back up. Release your hands and come and stand in Shavasana. Okay. I don't have my light and yoga in here. Anyway, hold on a sec. Look up Parigasana in your light and yoga. I think it's like 265.
Oh, this is the one she wants. 135? Did she say 135?
No, she just said the name.
For some reason, all of my multiple copies of Light and Yoga have disappeared right now, but that's okay. I found one that'll work. Part of the shoulder stand cycle. Here it is. Okay. Oh, 245. I was almost right. The plate 245. That's Partagasala. Okay. So it's got the shins again, okay, but it's really got this rounding in the back body. Okay. And you can particularly see with the arms behind the back version how much his abdomen is contracted there. Okay. So if you flip all the way back to plate 34, Prasar Parivartanasana, that's really where that rounded back action starts. Yeah. And that work of Prasar Parivartanasana, basically he's doing Ardha Navasana with his abdomen. And it just intensifies when he gets into Karnapidasana, right? Okay, so the first place we learned that is in the first stage of Prasar Parivartanasana. But let's do that. And then I'm going to show you a way of working in Karnapidasana, because not everyone can do shoulder stand, right? I mean, some people just say, when it gets to shoulder stand time, I'm just going to go into legs at the wall pose. But if you do that, in legs at the wall pose, you don't get the opportunity to get that lengthening in the back body. Okay? And particularly for people who are shaped like me, with a lot more lower back curve, getting that length in the lower back is really, really challenging. Okay? And so I skip that work a lot. Okay? But this time through all of these poses, what I really realized is you start learning it in easier positions, right? So you're going to come into the concave stage of Prasar Parivartanasana, getting that length in the front body. And then when you come into, and then move your hands back, and you can still do the same lengthening, but when you bring the back of the head to the floor, you have to contract the front abdomen like you were doing Ardha Navasana and bring the back of the head down to the floor. And then stretch out again to the concave stage so you get lots of length in the front body. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones. Now, as you exhale, yeah, you're trying to get the head to the floor, but really what you're doing is beginning that work of contracting the abdomen like you do in Ardha Navasana, like you do in Karnapidasana. And then one more time, lengthen out, get that nice lengthening of the front body. And then as you exhale, contract the abdomen and bring, it's not really, well, I guess it's a contraction and that it's getting shorter toward each other, but you're really moving the pubis and the navel toward the rib cage. And then you come back up, walk your hands out, and bring your legs self in. Hey, Dante. How you doing, boy? Okay, so suppose you couldn't do Sarvangasana. And if you can't do Sarvangasana, shoulder stand, you wouldn't be able to do Karnapidasana. Hey. Dante, go ahead and go see Jeff. He brought his toy in for me, isn't that nice? Okay, all right, but you could do something like sitting on the chair with your legs out wide, and you're gonna fold forward on the chair. Now, I can get the front chair legs, I can't quite get the back chair legs, and so I could get somewhere in between. So just knowing that about myself, I'm gonna actually take a strap and put it on the back of the back chair leg so that I actually have something to pull through on. Kirsten, you're just gonna stay in the forward folding part of this pose. You can also do a couple of seated twists if you want. So you're gonna bring your legs out wide. Not super wide, but think about, shoulder stand. When you go forward, okay, your knees kind of go near your ears. That's what the ear pressure pose is actually the name of this pose in Sanskrit, I believe. Okay, so when you're folding forward, a lot of times we talk about extending the torso side of the torso first, but this time you're going to do it from the perspective of Prasar Parivartanasana or Ardha Navasana, and then you can reach your hands to the chair, and then maybe, if you have longer legs, you can sit further back on the chair, okay, and it'll be easier to get the back chair legs. Okay. That is, I got really pretty short, bulky thighs. So when I sit far back on the chair, it really doesn't help me out that much. Okay. It makes it actually a little harder, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Okay. I'm gonna fold forward. I can't get the back chair legs yet, but I can get my strap. And I'm gonna pull with those arms, sure, but the main thing is you really gotta get that lengthening in the back body. Then to make it be more like Karnapidasana, you can actually just bring your chin down toward your chest. So you're getting a little bit of Jalandhara too. Okay. So when we get to the shoulder, and then you can come all the way back up and open the front body up. So when we get to Sarvangasana cycle, which we will in a second, if you're not a shoulder stand doer, you can do this one again to get Karnapidasana before you do whatever you're going to do instead of shoulder stand. Okay. All right, the other thing that comes up, Kirsten, you can do Supta Parjvakanasana too after this one. The other thing that comes up in the shoulder stand cycle in this week of poses is Ekapada Sarvangasana, where you work to bring the leg to the floor. Okay. So everyone lie down on the floor. Now you've got all the abdominal work in this sequence too, which is the Urdhva Prasarda Padasana, which is Navasana, Ardha Navasana. But Supta Parjvakanasana 1 is also classed as an abdominal pose. And again, if you can't do Sarvangasana, you can't really do Ekapada Sarvangasana, but there are other Ekapadas you can work on. Okay, so when we get to Sarvangasana, just a little while, okay, if you're not a Sarvangasana doer, okay, then you're going to do the chair thing, you're going to do Ekapada, Supta Ekapada, and then you'll go into either legs up the wall pose or Satchipana. Okay, we still got our regular Parigasana to do, so that's still coming up. But I just wanted to foreshadow a little bit. So we've been working on Urdhva Prasarda Padasana, where you bring both legs up. So when you bring one leg up, it's just like a one-legged Urdhva Prasarda Padasana. Then So you don't have to come into that bent leg stage like we often do to release the groin. So extend through both inner heels, press the top thigh down into the floor. So imagine you were upside down either on your head or in Sarvangasana. At this juncture, the leg that's on the floor will be the leg that's reaching up toward the ceiling. So as much as you can, extend through that bottom leg, training it to stay in place while it's upright. And then when you fold this leg forward, you can think of Urdhva Prasar Padasana. From the back of the body, you're lengthening and pulling the leg up and pulling the leg in a little bit more. It's kind of like with both legs. And when we come up to 90 and I have us go beyond 90, you get that lengthening in the back body. The same thing here, you should get a lengthening in the back body as you pull your leg in closer to your torso. All right, now keep extending through your bottom leg, exhale, and here's Ardha Navasana in the abdomen again, all right? It won't feel quite like that when you're upside down, but the lower you go with your leg, the more you're gonna feel a connection, the lower abdomen drawing in. All right, and then lower yourself down, and then make the legs super straight and strong, and think Urdhva Prasarda Padasana as you lower that one leg. And feel how nicely it rests on the floor. Then keep extending through your right leg, keep stretching through your left leg, think Urdhva Prasarda Padasana with that leg. Let the strap on the ball of your foot or the heel arch connection. And when you pull the leg in, it's not just the action of the hamstring stretching. And I'm going to show on the side that you can't see, but it's just like when you pull your legs in closer, more than 90 for Urdhva Prasarda Padasana, you get that lengthening from the back body through the buttocks, through the heels. So from that back body, pull the leg in more. Yeah. All right, then Ardha Navasana in the abdomen. Maybe you can get your big toe, keep your bottom leg straight, and then lower yourself down. And then as you lower the leg down, Urdhva Prasarda Padasana with that one leg. Okay. So that was just a little prelude into what happens in Sarvangasana. Okay, so switching back to the sequence itself, it's Trikonasana, Parjvakanasana, the Virabhadrasanas, the Parivritas, Parjvakanasana, Prasarda Padottanasana, and then it adds in Parigasana. Now, Parigasana, if you look at where it's placed in Light and Yoga, interestingly, it is actually right after Prasarda Padottanasana. Okay? So there's something in those two poses together that Mr. Iyengar must see as having some kind of good relationship with each other. Okay, so you're going to kneel again. The other thing, my student Laura Lee actually pointed this out. If you were to look at Parigasana, in the first stage of it, when his arms are out straight like this, if you look at his foot, it's almost pointed straight ahead. Not quite, okay? But it's almost straight ahead, almost like it's still doing Prasarda Padottanasana. But when he goes deeper into the pose, then the foot turns and points more like it's doing Trikonasana. Okay? And that's a really nice little feeling on the hip to do that. So we're gonna just practice that in and of itself for a couple rounds, and then close off the pose. Okay? Do a quick shoulder headstand, Sarvangasana, and Chatara Parivartanasana maybe. Well, we've only got 7 minutes left, so that'll be a challenge. Okay, stretch your legs out. Yeah. Okay, so almost like it's doing Prasarda Padottanasana first. There's a little bit of a turnout, but it's really almost like Prasarda Padottanasana, which came right before it in Light on Yoga. All right, now come up onto the heel, externally rotate the leg so that the toes turn up toward the ceiling. Very strongly from the little toe side of the foot, draw up into the outer hip. Keep that outer hip movement as you point the foot, turn the palms over, okay? And then go ahead and go into the first stage of Parigasana, and let's see if you can go a little bit lower, and eventually you bring your hand all the way to the foot. And then come all the way up. Pose is getting better. All right, so the first stage, again, the foot's almost straight ahead, and your arms are out like this. Okay. But now put your hands on your hips. To go into the from the perspective of the hip, you're gonna lift the heel up. Watch the external rotation as your toes turn toward the ceiling. As much as you can, draw up from the little toe side of the foot into the outer hip. Then keep that as you extend and point the foot down toward the floor. Stretch your arms out. Tip over halfway. And then if you can go any lower, go lower. And then come all the way back up. Stand on your knees. Come into Harishnasana, downward facing dog. Which is now preparing us for headstand. All right, headstand either in the middle of the room or at the wall, or if you're not doing headstand, you can continue downward facing dog. You can do a chair vipada. Person, you can also go like into Supta. It's not going to be a long one. And it's actually not even in the sequence for another 4 weeks, but I know that the large majority of people I teach have a regular inversion practice already. And you want to make sure you get the inversions in, particularly going into second year of the pandemic. Right? The inversions are a big part of many of the anxiety, immunity, restorative sequences. I'm actually going to teach a lovely restorative inversion class. But anyway, they're a really huge component of staying mentally healthy, physically strong, builds resiliency. But we're not going to stay long. So if you do have the ability to come down 2 legs at a time, think of Prasar on the way down. Right. And then be in
Maybe your elbow should be a little.
Vajrasana. Good, Karen. Nice. Okay. All right. We got a nice yoga helper there, Darlene. Yeah. All right. Okay. Set up efficiently, as Devin would say, for Sarvangasana. Yeah. Again, if you don't do Sarvangasana, if you're just going to legs up the wall pose or Padasana, then quickly do another chair folding forward, another Supta Partagasala, so you get the new things in. When you go into Sarvangasana, the sequence is Sarvangasana, Halasana, Karnapidasana. Then you go back up to Sarvangasana, do Akapada Sarvangasana, come back up to Sarvangasana, down to Halasana. Then you'll slide off your setup just to your sacrum, and we'll do a little end with 1 round of Chatara Parivartanasana. Because it's going to be pretty quick, okay? Almost like a Sarvangasana flow. All right. So if you can, with 2 legs, you can roll yourself up into Sarvangasana. Okay? That's one of the approaches of Sarvangasana. If you need to roll all the way over into Halasana, you can do so.
Around the end.
You're going to come into Sarvangasana. However you do it. Another thing you can do I forgot for Karnapidasana is you can use a chair and put your feet on the chair if the floor is too much. All right, ready? Gotta be quick. Okay, so roll up. Here I am if you can into Sarvangasana. I'm getting better at that, but I don't get as far on my shoulders as I need to.
Yes.
I'm gonna come down into chair Halasana to tuck my shoulders, then come up to Sarvangasana. Okay, so that's Sarvangasana. Push your upper arms down into the floor. Use your hands on your back to lift up through the legs. Take 5 breaths in Sarvangasana.
Your shoulder should be on the floor, neck.
All right, looks pretty good, everyone. Nice, Karen Carpenter. Good. Okay, all right, then
Watch me.
go ahead and bring your legs down to either a chair or the floor, Halasana.
Watch me.
Now, Halasana 2 has got a little bit of that abdominal action in the back rounding. So when you drop your knees down to the floor, it's even more back rounding, right? And more abdominal work. Straighten your legs back up to Halasana, all the way back up to Sarvangasana. There you go. Reestablish your Sarvangasana. Now really lift up through your left leg like it was a Supta Parigasana leg and lower your right leg down to the floor. And notice that and do it from that back body action, a little bit straighter in the leg. All right, lower your little foot down, come all the way up. Now really extend up through the right leg like it's the bottom Supta Parigasana leg. Walk your hands down your back. Good, Darlene. Good, Leanne. That looks good in the leg. Lower the leg down from that back body. Extend through the heel and come down. Then bring the leg all the way back up. Then lower both legs down. Roll out of the pose. Take your strap off if you were using it. All right, then he adds in Chatara Parivartanasana. So before Shavasana, slide off of your setup till just your sacrum is up on your mat. You're welcome to stay there, Karen. That's fine. All right. So you got just the sacrum up on there, either with bent legs or straight legs. What you're gonna do is stretch your arms out, pull your legs in close to your torso again, and then you're gonna move the legs over to the right and look at your abdomen, right to left, rib cage right to left, collarbones broad. Bring your legs back up. Exhale, move your legs up and over toward your left hand. Abdomen from left to right, ribs from left to right, collarbones broad. Bring the legs up. Lower the legs down like Urdhva Prasar to Padasana. Then slide off of your setup and do Shavasana. I made it. We even get 2 minutes of Shavasana. All right. I did start a little bit late today too. All right. And take the support you need that's appropriate. Fine to put something under your chest. So if you do put something under your chest, put something under your head.
Just lay back.
The chair, some of you have the chair there. You're welcome to put your legs up on the chair. But regardless of what you've chosen, yeah, that's fine. Darlene, let your eyes release into the back of your head. Your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. And clench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. The base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet with them. So that's week 9 and 10 sequence. I've missed a couple weeks of this class, so we haven't, but both of the weeks I believe I missed were actually repeat weeks. So we've touched all the poses so far. And just looking ahead to next week, it adds Uttanasana, Partagasala, and Parjvakanasana, which is the forward folding standing. And that's the thing that gets added. The other thing that happens next week is you start doing Trikonasana, Parjvakanasana, Parjvakanasana first in the sequence. And so the order changes, and then you get the forward bending. It's just interesting for me, to me, hopefully interesting to you, just seeing what is there each week that gets added progressively. And that just helps us build up knowledge of sequencing, knowledges of how the one set of poses may prepare us for another set of poses. It's not the only way to approach the poses by any means. I wrote this book almost 55 years ago now. It came out 55 years ago. And Iyengar yoga is this lovely living tradition that we're all a part of. So this is a root text that hopefully will enhance our daily practice as practitioners of Iyengar yoga. Place your hands on your rib cage, bend your knees. Roll over to your right side. Use your hands to push yourself back up. Oh, you know what? I forgot. We actually have 12 minutes left of class. Sorry, I was messed up. Anyway, I'm happy to take some questions. Yeah, no wonder it felt rushed. All right. I had it confused with my 9:15 class on Tuesday. All right. So anyway, I finished early, okay, which is great. sort of. But I mean, I don't want to rob you of time or practice. So do you have any questions or comments or observation about this particular work or sequence, questions about your practice? I'm happy to answer any questions or observations you might have.
Yeah, we are going deeper than the bending down and going to the poses. I felt like we are going to deeper.
Yeah, good. That's good. Glad to hear it. Any other observations, comments, questions? All right, Leanne, got a question?
There, sorry. So when you're following the sequences in light on yoga,
Uh-huh.
right, where, oh, I see, it's appendix 1.
They're in appendix 1. Okay.
That's,
It's also really interesting. You can look at the sequences in appendix 1. But there's also another sense in which light on yoga and the poses themselves are a kind of sequence. Like you could actually practice light on yoga as a sequence to some degree, or you could, it's interesting to look at what pose comes after the poses in light on yoga. So there's this really interesting to me interrelationship between how he presents the sequences, okay, and also their order in light on yoga. Okay. So if you were to, for instance, like look at Prasar Parivartanasana in light on yoga, it comes right before Parigasana, right? Well, lo and behold, when we actually get Parigasana in the sequences, that's actually where he puts Parigasana. He puts it right after Prasar Parivartanasana. So there's an interesting interplay between the light on yoga presentation itself and the sequences in the back of the book. Okay?
yeah.
For instance, next week, we're going to get Trikonasana, Parivrita Trikonasana, Parjvakanasana, Parivrita Parjvakanasana, and that's how they're actually presented in light on yoga. Okay? But he doesn't actually do it that way in the sequences until week 11. Okay? In week 1 through 10, okay, he has the Parivritas separated, like later in the sequence, from the regular lateral angle poses. Okay? So that's like an interesting departure. So we have to get prepared through these sequences to actually do it in the way that the order's there in light on yoga.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments, questions, anything? How much longer till the baby, Kristen? 2 weeks? All right, great. See you next week. All right, sorry I messed up on the time. Apologize. I was late and then I got discombobulated about the start and the stop time. So anyway, anything else?
No
Want to
problem.
ask? So, all right, I'll see you next week, and I will remember what time class actually ends next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.
And also, if I'm ever doing that again, someone remind me that the class ends at 10:45.
Okay.
That's fine. You have a little bit more time for your second cup of coffee. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank
All
you.
right. It's wonderful to see everyone. Missed being with you last week. Bye, Vicky. Cat looks very snuggly.